All right. How's everybody doing? It's Friday. It's time to talk football. Give me 30 seconds. Yes! Yes! Oh, man. It is Friday night, and I'm here talking football. Oh, God, it cannot get any better than this. I am very jacked up. I'm not on energy drinks, but I'm very, very jacked up. Mm. And, I've been doing is I've been taking snapshots of the things I'm seeing on social media. I thought about sharing it, but I kind of want to get away from being the show that makes fun of people. I don't want to be that guy who's just insulting people just because you have a stupid take on sports. Because I want to encourage discussion. I want to encourage people that if you have a different opinion than mine, to go ahead and say it. And I also want to encourage people that, hey, Dan, just because I don't agree with you, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I never want this to be the show where my opinion is the right opinion. It's the only opinion. I always want to encourage a conversation back and forth. But that said, there's just some really stupid things I've seen on social media. I thought about doing like a sharing segment with that. One of the things I saw, and I'm kind of springing this on you instead of preparing and planning for it, was CBS Sports had a list top 10 defensive players of all time, and Steelers fans were upset that Rod Woodson was only 9. And instead of just trying to educate Steelers fans that Rod Woodson doesn't belong on the list of the top 10 defensive players of all time, but Mean Joe Green does. Mean Joe Green's not on the list. And Mean Joe Green 100% is one of the top 10 defensive players of all time. Rod Woodson isn't. So anyway, I thought about breaking down this list because I love lists like this. I thought about making my own. Reason why is because the NFL Network came up with a list, top 100 teams of all time. Links in the description. You can check it out for yourself. And so what I did is a list I made over 3 years ago. I dusted off my list of top 10 Super Bowl teams of all time, and I put my 10 against the top 10 that the NFL Network has. And I thought we'd do a little compare and contrast, talk about why, of course, my list is better. Slasher, what is up, brother, man? Dude, you should be super hyped for the season. If you are, by the way, Slasher's an Eagles fan. I'm very, very excited to have an Eagles fan here. Very, very excited to have an Eagles fan here. So Slasher says, yo, what's up, Dan? Super hyped for the season. Kaiser White looks great in practice given the circumstances. Yeah. Dude, he's one of the better players that was signed in free agency. Nobody talked about. Great pickup for the Eagles, only on a 1-year deal. So you guys, if he plays the way he did with the Chargers last year, you're going to have to spend some money to keep him. But it's something I'm kind of interested in how they do, because they also signed Kobe Dean. So I'm kind of interested if they just want to see what they get in Dean and then move on from White. But yeah, man. I am very, very excited to watch the Eagles. I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm an Eagles fan, but they're a team I'm very excited to watch. A team I think that was a playoff team last year, got significantly better, and it makes that NFC East division going to be a fun one to watch. The NFC East is going to be very exciting. Oh, Funk's in the house. Hey, buddy, I'm here. Might have to update that list, huh? Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. I might have to update it, but I'm going to show you what I got, because I left off the last 3 Super Bowl teams. I left off the Chiefs, I left off the Bucks, and I left off the Rams. I think it's not even a debate out of those 3 teams, the best teams, the Buccaneers, and it's not even close. The Chiefs beat I don't think a very good 49ers team, and I had a beta 49ers fan get all mad at me when I said they weren't a good team, because he was like, "Whoa, we went to the Super Bowl, so you're just stupid." But here's a team that won 4 wins the year before, went to the Super Bowl, and then won 6 wins the next year. And you can say that, oh, it doesn't matter. But if I had to do like a list of top 10 worst Super Bowl teams of all time, that Niners team would be on the list, where Tampa Bay beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who were actually better during the regular season. Of course, they had some injuries and some problems with the offensive line going into the Super Bowl, but still, Tampa Bay beat a really, really good team. With the Rams, how good were the Bengals? Was it a fluke year like the 49ers were, or is this the start of what could be a dynasty? I mean, it'll be very interesting to see. But out of the 3 teams, Tampa Bay easily is the best one. I don't think there's a debate yet. Maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. Is their coach a Hall of Famer? Is Bruce Arians a future Hall of Famer? That's yet to be seen. Andy Reid is. Andy Reid. So you beat a team with a future Hall of Famer at coach. Gronkowski is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Dominican Suh is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Devin White, even though he's only been in the NFL a couple of years, he's having a career that could land him in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Mike Evans is having a Hall of Fame career. I think all those 3 teams, if I had to consider one of these 3 to be on my list of top 10, the Bucks team would be. So Dean honestly should be he means weak sideline. I knew what you meant. I think size will be an issue playing at middle at times. They said the same thing about Noshawn Marino, and he's been playing lights out. Why he hasn't been to a Pro Bowl is just due to the Bears not being a good team. But he's kind of an undersized 3-4 inside linebacker, and of course now they're switching to I say 3-4-4-3. NFL teams really don't think that way. It's just kind of terminology that fans use and that I use because it's just generalizing defenses and without getting into specifics. But hopefully you get what I'm saying, but he's kind of an undersized guy. And by the way, he was the guy that Dean replaced at Georgia. And I think there's a lot of similarities. He is significantly shorter. I don't know if he's necessarily smaller. Sam Mills at 5'9" is one of the best inside linebackers I've ever seen play. Easily one of the best inside linebackers. Should have been in the Hall of Fame like 10, 15, 20 years ago. But he can play. Can Dean be that type of guy? Can Dean be that type of guy? Because I don't think he's necessarily – now, the one thing that bothered me is that the Around the Sticks podcast, it's Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah. And Bucky Brooks said that he said this before the draft. It really, really bothered him how small. He didn't say short. He said small. And he said, I don't know if I could be in an NFL huddle with a guy this small as my linebacker. And these guys are usually pretty, clean as far as how they attack players, especially going into the draft. It's very rare that they say anything negative. So when they said that about Nakobe Dean, it really surprised me. And I think that's something that NFL teams listen to. And it's something I wonder if NFL scouts and general managers paid attention to. And that may have been the reason why you took a guy who almost everybody had him going in the first round. You got him in the 3rd round. But I think it's a great steal in the 3rd round because this is a guy who could be one of the best linebackers. 15 years from now, we might be laughing at how people thought Nakobe Dean was undersized. So, yeah, I have good points every now and then. Slasher, the position's changing a little. It's basically becoming a 2 linebacker league, so it's kind of more of what you want. A hammer guy and a scrape guy. Funk, this is phenomenal. I wish it's really weird because me and Funk do not always see eye to eye, but there's a lot of times that Funk says what I'm thinking and just articulates it a lot better than I do. And this is one of those times where he says what I'm thinking. And Funk, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's all it is that you're going to see teams playing the 4-2-5 defense and a 3-3-5 defense almost every college defense is a 3-3-5 defense, and that's kind of like what Carolina started. And then you have like New England; they play kind of a positionless player type of defense. It's kind of interesting what they're doing. But yeah, you get basically 2 linebackers. You very rarely see 3 linebackers on the field nowadays. And then if you do have a third linebacker, it's kind of a safety linebacker hybrid. A lot of teams are switching to like 3 safeties, and then a lot of teams are playing with 3 corners, and it's going to be where that's how you determine what kind of defense it is. Is it 3 safety defense or is it 3 corner defense? And I think that's how the league's switching to. I mean, it's kind of already there, but eventually, instead of using the 3-4 or the 4-3 like I'm using now, we'll use either a 3 corner or 3 safety defense. So. Denver Gator doing his Matthew McConaughey impression. All right. Yes. I know what you're thinking. I also know what you're thinking, Denver Gator. You keep getting older, but the girls stay the same. Girls stay the same. If you get the reference, you're awesome. Great movie, by the way. If you're paying attention to the ticker below, next Friday there'll be no show. I have a day off today, and then the next 7-8 days it's just balls. Well, honestly, tomorrow's kind of a day off too. My weekend's Friday, sort of Saturday, but like Sunday through probably Saturday, maybe even Sunday. It's going to be a very long week. I know you guys don't really care, but basically when I come back on the 24th, I really want to put a lot of emphasis on growing the YouTube channel. I lost a few subscribers since the draft because I'm not putting out content. I get that. I'm going to try to have a guest on. I'm going to try. I haven't reached out to anybody yet. I'm really hoping to get a guest on. That way we can do the whole thing. So Funk, if I had a prize giveaway, you would win it. Funk, it'd be a lot cooler if you did. Literally his top 3 lines ever throughout his whole career. Yes. Also the dude. If you know what I'm talking about there, I can't think. I'm drawing a blank. But you know what I'm talking about. Apparently they threw that into Wolf of Wall Street. They just threw it in there because that's how he does this to like prepare his voice or something. So they were like, hey, this is really cool. Let's throw it in there. Yeah. Great. Yeah. One of mine too. This is a great one. This is a great one. Got some great movies here. It's cool because it's good to have some people that know their movies. Earlier today, I watched The Boys on Amazon, and I'm really surprised at how good it is. So I'm just throwing it out there. If anybody's a fan of that show, let me know because I'm really surprised how good it is. That's a great point too, Funk, because I know mostly the strong side guy is a full-time pass rusher. Yeah, and that's kind of what they're switching is that, like, 2 linebackers, one's a pass rusher, one's not a pass rusher. It's kind of interesting how they do it. Kind of like TJ Watt and Hassan Reddick, Chandler. Exactly. And Hassan Reddick really struggled early in his career. And I think part of it was they really weren't using him right. Arizona used him as a defensive end. And then I think at Carolina, Carolina was really running a 3-3-5 college type of defense. And they used him as a linebacker. And I didn't watch as much Carolina as I did Arizona. So Hassan Reddick was one of my favorite players coming out of the draft. If you don't know his story, he was a walk-on corner. He just blew up and became a defensive end. And then at the combine, he was like 245, ran a 4.5. Still, I mean, he was still corner fast, even though he put on 50 pounds in college. So great story. Yeah, it does. Denver Gator. Yeah, it's a fantastic show. I can't believe how much I like it. I kind of don't want to go on a rant because I kind of hate the way TV, Disney, and Amazon and Netflix is making all their shows today. It really bugs me, but this is, yeah, the Boys is really good. If you haven't watched it, start from the beginning. It's very good. I give Amazon some credit. There's a lot of shows Amazon puts out that's just shit, but the Boys is really good. Are we talking best Super Bowl matchups or best teams to win? Best teams to win, and part of what I considered was the opponent that they went against. I looked at the opponents who they went against as part of it, not just the opponent in the Super Bowl, but the opponents in the playoffs. And I put a link because you could watch all 11 videos. I made a honorable mention video, but instead of watching all 11 videos, I'm going to go over my top 10 list, and I'm going to go over the NFL Network's top 10 list, and we all will agree that my list is better. I mean, that's pretty much the consensus here, that I know more than the NFL Network. Oh, this is another great point. Yes, Slasher in Detroit, we run a 3-4 base, but we run it as a 3-4 under. But what they will do is over 60% of snaps, they will run a 2-4 double under, where they remove a defensive lineman and have both outside linebackers put their hand in the dirt to make. But yeah, yes, Funk, again, you say what I'm thinking perfectly. And I have a whiteboard behind me. One of these days I might have to break down how NFL defenses have changed and do a whiteboard video. I did one on the Tampa 2 defense before the Chiefs played the Niners. I know the Niners run a wide 9 defense, but it reminded me more of a Tampa 2 defense than it does a cover 3. And so I've been wanting to break down the Tampa 2 defense for a while, because it's by NFL standards the most simplistic defense out there. So first off, I'm going to break down, and by the way, take a look at the description. I'm going to break down the NFL Network's top 10 teams of all time. Now, my list is slightly different because I'm doing Super Bowl teams of all time. They're doing teams of all time. And so 2 teams aren't eligible according to my list. And I'm going to break down the NFL Networks. The NFL Network number 10 is the 75 Steelers. That team didn't make the list. And at the time, I really wanted one team from each dynasty. But I have to admit that I might have to think about putting the 75 Steelers in. It's something I'm going to consider. As of right now, I'm going to stick with my list. But I have to admit, when they include 75 Steelers, I might have to think it. The 62 Packers are widely considered by a lot of people the greatest team in NFL history. They only got them at 9. I'd argue it should be higher than 9 because it was 62. They don't make my list. Number 8, the 1976 Oakland Raiders. I got the Raiders at 7. They got them at 8. Okay. Number 7 is the 2007 New England Patriots that lost the Super Bowl. They don't make my list. If I did top 25 Super Bowl teams of all time, I would probably include the New England Patriots. I know that just because they lost the Super Bowl doesn't mean anything less. I could argue there's several teams. In my video where I break down the 78 Steelers, the 78 Cowboys is one of the greatest Super Bowl teams of all time. They didn't win the Super Bowl. The 77 Cowboys won the Super Bowl. 78 Cowboys didn't. I think the 78 Cowboys was better than the 77 Cowboys, even though the 77 Cowboys won the Super Bowl, the 78 didn't. I'd argue the 78 Cowboys was better. If I did like top 25 Super Bowl teams of all time, the 78 Cowboys would make the list. The 77 might not. I'd have to do a lot more research into that. Believe it or not, I did a lot of research when I did all these videos. So number 6 was 92 Cowboys. I thought the 93 team was better. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't see the same thing I did. That I thought the 93 Cowboys team was significantly better than the 92. But I had to admit that when I first started the list, I had the 93 Cowboys as 10. I bumped them out. So they didn't make my list. But I thought the 93 team was better than the 92 team. 89 49ers, they have as 5. I have them as 9. Very, very good team. I was really surprised the 84 49ers was 4. I think easily the most underrated team in NFL history. Very, very, very good football team. And the NFL Network may have it right at 4. I have them at 10. And I'll go into detail, but I think the 89 team would have beat the 84 team. That's why I put the 84 team at 10 and the 89 team at 9. But number 3 is 78 Steelers. I have the 78 Steelers at number 3. They have the 85 Bears at 2. I have the 85 Bears at 5. And we both agree that 72 Dolphins was I was really surprised. I didn't think that I thought I was in a really small minority that said the 72 Dolphins was the greatest team, is the best Super Bowl team of all time. And the NFL Network agreed. I was kind of surprised about that. I know you say that jokingly, but I definitely believe you're way smarter. Hey, man, I appreciate that, Denver Gator. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much, man. I paid Denver Gator $200 to say that. So I know more than PFF. You put me against PFF. You put me against anybody who does gambling. Put my football knowledge against anybody. We both know Kelly in Vegas. Put me against her any day of the week. I love Kelly in Vegas. Before she got really big, I actually messaged her a couple times. We're not friends. I'm not going to pretend I'm friends with Kelly in Vegas. But she actually messaged me back. She actually sent me the link to Vegas Insider. I still have it saved on my computer. And it's a link that if you go to Vegas, it has every lineup from every casino, so you don't have to walk the whole strip. It was really cool of her to do that. Before she got really big, she would message me back because I didn't get all creepy and stuff. That's another thing. I don't like it. Okay, I'm going on a rant here. So, 1984 Niners. Oh, yeah. Great team. I'm going to give you my top 10 list, and of course, mine's better. I have number 10, the 84 49ers. Part of the reason I have them at 10, no elite pass rusher. Freddie Solomon and Dwight Clark, solid. I think the receivers on almost every other team is much better. Very good running game. And also, even though they one of the most dominant teams, actually, you know what? I'm serious. I started talking and forgot my talking points. I have to go back and revisit the video. I just watched it yesterday. But no dominant pass rusher, not dominant receiving core. They did have some holes, even though they're a dominant team. When we talk top 10 of all time, there was some holes in that 84 Niners team. Overall, really great team, though. Number 10 is not a slouch. But if all these teams are on Madden, all these teams would be like a 99 ranking. But number 10 was the 84 Niners. Number 9 was the 89 Niners. And the main reason I think the 89 Niners would have beat the 84 Niners. The 84 Niners, after they won the Super Bowl in the 85 draft, they drafted a player from a small school by the name of Jerry Rice. So one team has Rice, one doesn't. I think just adding Rice and Taylor. And then in 89 was peak Montana. Montana won the 89 and 90 MVP. And I think those are his peak years, 89 and 90. And that's the reason why I put the 89 team above the 84 team. In 88, they won the Super Bowl against the Bengals. And then Bill Walsh retired. And that 89 team was really pissed off. They weren't happy about it because Bill Walsh didn't tell anybody, and they wanted to prove that they could win a Super Bowl without Walsh, and they did. So I think the 89 team was better than the 84, but it's really like splitting hairs. The one thing, though, is that the 89 Niners, probably the easiest road and opponent. The 89 Broncos team was one of the worst Super Bowl teams of all time. Kelly in Vegas is a Broncos fan. No. Kelly in Vegas, for those of you who do not know who Kelly in Vegas is, she went to K-State, went to Vegas, was a bartender, used her look. She's a very attractive girl. Okay. used her looks. When you're a bartender in Vegas, it's more important what you look like than if you're a good bartender. Apparently, she used to be a good bartender. I don't know. Anyway, she started making bets and started winning. And then one day she made a 3-team parlay that made, I forget the amount, but it was like several $1,000s. And then she started becoming a spokesperson for Wager Talk. And then she became a spokesperson for Barstool. But she realized that being attractive was as important as being a winner. And she combined both. But when she made a parlay that she predicted correctly and won several $1,000s, that changed everything. Do I know more about football and she doesn't? No question. It's not even close. I'm a fan of Kelly in Vegas. But no, it doesn't affect my opinion. She was somebody who just was from the Midwest, went to K-State. Her family still lives in Kansas. Went to Vegas and made a name for herself using brains and beauty. I have utmost respect for Kelly in Vegas, and I'm almost as good looking, so it works out. 2001 Ravens did not make the list, and the reason why is that despite the great defense, you know what? Actually, let me do this here. Let me give you a few teams that didn't make the list first off. I'm sorry, I should have said this first. None of the Cowboys teams made the list. I think the 93 team was the best. I'd argue that the 71 team, the winners of Super Bowl VI, should have made the list. The reason why I didn't have the 71 team in is that there's multiple Hall of Famers at the end of their career. Mike Ditka came out of retirement. Bambi, who had like 32 catches. Lance Allworth might be the greatest receiver ever lived. For a long time. Matter of fact, he has over 100 yards receiving in his career. I think his career started in the early 60s. 71, it was at the end of his career. He wasn't the same guy. He wasn't even a good receiver at that time. But he was clutch. Ditka caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He had one touchdown the whole year. He wasn't a Hall of Fame tight end at that period of time. But Roger Staubach did say without Ditka, they don't win the Super Bowl. Herb Adderley spent the last couple of his years in Dallas, Hall of Fame corner. But he was like 4 years removed from going to a Pro Bowl. He was one of the best corners in all of football when he was a Packer. But those three guys are Hall of Fame players, but they weren't they were at the very end of a Hall of Fame career. So that's why the 71 team didn't make it in. I talked already about the 78 Cowboys losing to the 78 Steelers. The 77 Cowboys I didn't really consider. A lot of people if you're a Cowboys fan and you're mad because I didn't put a Cowboys team on the list, I wanted to put on the 93 Cowboys team. It's just the 84 team's better. The 84 49ers team would have beat the 93 Cowboys. I firmly believe that. The 96 Green Bay Packers did not make my list. That's a tough one. That was a real tough one because they added Keith Jackson, who's not going to make – for those of you who do not know who Keith Jackson is, he was maybe the biggest freak of nature ever. He was 6'5", 265, and ran a 4.5. And he could block, but basically he was just a big wide receiver. And nobody really ever used him as a wide out. In today's game – I don't even know how to describe him. It'd be like Gronkowski except faster. I mean, and not he wasn't quite the blocker, but anyway, his last year in the NFL latched onto the 96 Packers. Andre Rison was signed in midseason. Desmond Howard won Super Bowl MVP, the only really good year in his pro career. Trying to remember what else. Oh, Sean Jones. Sean Jones came in. I don't remember if he was 95 or 96. But God, he was here's a guy who is on the Oilers and just a game changer with the Oilers. And if the 93 Oilers win the Super Bowl, which you can argue they probably should have, Sean Jones may be in the Hall of Fame. Probably won't make the Hall of Fame. Really good player. Came on that Green Bay team. And oh man, that 96 Packers team is one of the greatest teams of all time. I think the NFL Network had them at 15 or something. So finally, James has been, yes, my top 10 Super Bowl teams of all time. So yeah, man, I'm glad you like it. I have been saying for a very, very long time I need to do a retro show. This one is not it, but yeah. F the Packers, they don't deserve to. I do have a Packers team on my top 10s list. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're my number one. Yeah, me and the NFL Network agree, greatest team of all time. As soon as another team becomes undefeated. But here's the thing about the Dolphins team, the 72 Dolphins team. They gave up fewer points than the 85 Bears. The defense was that good. But they had a Hall of Fame quarterback, they had a Hall of Fame running back, or I'm sorry, a Hall of Fame halfback, a Hall of Fame fullback, and a Hall of Fame wide receiver. All sorts of talent. Some people argue the 73 Dolphins were actually better than the 72 Dolphins, but I don't think so. Your list. I haven't even started. I've only told you the top two. I left off the 91 Washington football team at the time. They're called the Redskins. I know now they're the Commanders. Then somebody, I forget where it was, somebody told me the 91 Washington Redskins greatest team of all time. I don't see that. No, they didn't make my list. I didn't really consider them. Good, very good football team though. Very, like, everything just came together perfectly on that team that year. Mark Rippon was NFL MVP. He was a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. That year he was great. He had Art Monk. He had, I think, Gary Jackson and Ricky Sanders were also there. But yeah. Wasn't it? Yes, it was. Yeah, it changed in 79, I believe. So you put the pack on it. Yeah, I did. I'm going to go over some detail. And if you won't do it, I know. But if you watch the video on the list of why I have the Packers on, I'll tell you which one. Jimmy. Yeah. My top 10 Super Bowl teams of all time. Funk hates it. Okay. I left off the 2013 Seattle Seahawks. I know the Legion of Boom defense, the NFL Network had a list, top 10 defenses of all time. They had them at 5. I considered them, but I don't think they're top 10. Very good team, though. Very good team. And the NFL Network, I think, has the 99 Rams as the 11th best team. I know it's a great offense and everything. The defense, I think, was 4th in scoring defense, but I'm not sure they're top 20. I really don't know they're top 20, and I say that because the defense ultimately is mediocre. That year kind of came together. The offense, of course, great offense. I'm lower on the Rams than a lot of people. Oh, dude, yeah. Rippon had Art Monk, 4 short guys. They had Gerald Riggs, and then Ernest Biner came over. For those of you who remember, Ernest Biner had, of course, the fumble. I think it was 4 years ago, if I remember right. The fumble was 87, maybe it was 88. Then he joined the Redskins. Him and Gerald Riggs was a really good running back, power dude. I think he was 30 at the time, but the 91, I'll tell you right now, the 91 Washington team was better than the 2013 Seahawks and the 99 Rams. Yeah. Out of my list with the NFL Network. I want to kind of go back and look at the 75 Steelers because that's a tough one to admit. I do have the 78 Steelers, which I think 78 Steelers was better than the 75 Steelers, but I don't have the 75 Steelers on my list. And that's one thing I'm going to have to kind of revisit and think about. But right now, number 10 is the 84 49ers. Number 9 is the 89 Niners. The lowest ranked team. Oh, yeah, Riggs was a tank. Gerald. I'm glad you remember. Gerald Riggs is a really good football player, folks. People will forget about how good he was. They had Riggs and they had Biner. Then you had Art Monk and then speed on the outside. And Rippon had a big arm. That year he was MVP. And then the defense was really good. Not a lot of big names. The biggest name was Darryl Green. But they really good defense that year. But Denver Gator talking shit. I love it. Number 8 is the lowest ranked team on the list. They have the NFL Network put this team at 27. I have them at 8. You can disagree with me if you want, but number 8, I have the 1969 Kansas City Chiefs, the only NFL team to boast 6 Hall of Famers on defense. 6. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback, and I don't care what anybody says, Otis Taylor is a Hall of Fame receiver. He's not been inducted into Canton yet. He will be one day. Hank Stram, innovative play caller, man who literally changed it. Hank Stram was the first guy he introduced shifts in motion into the NFL. So it was a revolution type of defense. Another thing about the 69 Chiefs is that they were the first team to have a black middle linebacker, the captain of the defense, William Lanier. It's funny because people say that Derek Thomas should that top 10 list, top 10 defensive players of all time. CBS talked about. If you joined late, I started off talking about the CBS top 10 defensive players of all time. And Chiefs fans were saying Derek Thomas should be on the list. I'm like, no, Bobby Bell and William Lanier were better linebackers than Derek Thomas. They were much better linebackers than Derek Thomas. Derek Thomas does not belong on the top 10 all-time defensive players list at all, but Chiefs fans kind of get stupid. But anyway, the 69 Chiefs defense may be the greatest defense of all time. Number 1 in points, number 1 in rushing yards, number 1 in passing yards, number 1 in turnovers, obviously number 1 in total yards. But the opponents they played against was just seriously, it was probably the toughest 3 opponents on the list here. You got first of all, you got the New York Jets in New York. They won Super Bowl III. They were actually better the next year. Chiefs held them 6 points. The best team in the league, at least team with the best record, was the 13-1 Raiders, who swept the Chiefs in the regular season. You go out to Oakland, held them to 7 points. Number 1 scoring offense. The Raiders' first playoff game was against the Oilers, won 56-7. They put up 56. That was a good team. Chiefs held them to 7. Minnesota Vikings, a team, top 25 Super Bowl teams of all time, the 69 Vikings make the list. Held them to 7. What's up? 140 talking top 10 Super Bowl teams of all time and why my list is better in the NFL Network. Denver, the Bills would be 3 of the top 10 losers teams. Okay, top 10. Yeah. The first Bills team, top 25 of all time. That first team, yeah. 78 Broncos. The Orange Crush was good. The Orange Crush was really good. The offense is mediocre. Maybe not. Len Dawson, yeah. Greatest Chief of all time. Patrick Mahomes is close to getting up there, but not there. You know what, James? I apologize because that did not make I should have brought that up as an honorable mention. Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor won his MVP in 90, not in 86, if I remember right. I could be wrong. I think he won his MVP in 90, not 86. Joe Morris, for those of you who do not know, Joe Morris, 5'7", 195, just an absolute monster. But that defense was really good. They destroyed the 86 Broncos. For those of you who don't remember the 86 Broncos, the drive, to be honest, the Browns were a better team. Just one of those things. 86, I don't have the 86 or 90 Giants on my list. I don't. And they deserve an honorable mention. I love Derek Thomas, but Barry would have been taken at 2 by the pack instead of the incredible bulk. He would have been a Lion. Yeah. Actually, a lot of people don't realize Broderick Thomas, he went 6, if I remember. I might be 6th or 7th to Tampa Bay. The Chiefs couldn't decide between Broderick and Derek. they couldn't decide between the two. Bill Cowher, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, absolutely loved Derek Thomas. That Chiefs coaching staff, Bill Cowher, defensive coordinator. All right. Mike McCarthy, quarterback coach. Tony Dungy, secondary coach. Herm Edwards, a special teams coach. Bruce Arians was also, I think he was quarterback coach. So yeah, they had some really good coaching staffs. You need to check out Inside. You told me about it. I subscribed. I haven't watched. I'm like semi on vacation, but yeah, I will start checking it out. Next week's kind of a crazy week. After that, I'm going to try to my show on the 24th. I'm hoping to have a guest on. I haven't reached out to anybody, but I'm hoping to have a guest on. Try to kind of ramp things up as NFL football's coming in quick. 85 Bears and late 80 Giants are teams that made me love football. Those are some great teams. I didn't even bring it up. The 84 Niners. The 84 Niners beat the 84 Bears in the NFC Championship 28-0. And late in the game, what the 49ers did is they put Guy McIntyre, the guard, as a fullback to kind of rub it in their face a little bit. So what did the Bears do in 85 when they played the 49ers on Monday Night Football? They put their rookie defensive tackle, the refrigerator, in, and that was game over. But so anyway, number 8, 69 Kansas City Chiefs. The NFL Network has 27th, really, really low. Underrated team, but great team. Number 7, I have the 76 Oakland Raiders. The NFL Network has them at 8. That Raiders team, I've heard a lot of people say the 76 Oakland Raiders may have been the best team of all time, and it's hard to argue because they had several years that they went to the AFC Championship game and lost, and they kept coming, and they also beat the 76 Steelers, which statistically has the best defense of all time. They had a lot of injuries in that game, but 76 Raiders was one of the greatest teams of all time. You got the Snake, his MVP season, his best season. Biletnikoff, the best left side of the offensive line with Shell and Upshaw in NFL history, plus Otto as the center. Just a dirty defense. Literally the dirtiest team in football. So the 76 Raiders are my 7. The NFL Network has them at 8. But keep in mind, I excluded the 2007 Patriots because they didn't win a Super Bowl. So Pride, share it. Oh, yes. Share, drop a comment and please do. I'm going to take pictures if you don't mind. If you can take pictures and videos, One Pride, if you don't mind. If you please email me. I would love to see what Lion Stadium looks like. It kind of is. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I've been adamant that this is a bunch of baloney. It's just women using the Me Too movement and like the Amber Heard situation. So I was really adamant that this was because this is public record that the lawyer said, hey, you dish out a 6-figure settlement, we signed an NDA, this all goes away. So I'm leaning towards Watson being innocent, more of a cash grab, but the number was, I was thinking, 12, 13. Okay. Well, I'm hearing now the number is like 66 and that there's details the Texans hid. And now the Texans are taking a stand, sticking up for Watson. Keep in mind, he's been cleared of all criminal charges. And it bothers me that you're not really seeking justice. You're seeking money. I mean, what would happen if he was a guy making 50 grand a year? I don't know, but yeah, I'll be honest with you. It is concerning because as of right now, I don't know how he starts opening day. Now, Jacoby Brissett's going to be the backup quarterback. You should count on Jacoby Brissett being the starting quarterback day one, and then I don't know what's going to happen with Baker Mayfield. That'll be something interesting. Hopefully, by 2 weeks from now, we'll be able to talk about it. Denver, my uncles and Billy. Oh, dude, Billy. I wish we could talk some more about Billy Sims. I loved Billy Sims, man. God, that guy was fun to watch. Billy Sims played today. Medical with medical the medical field being the way it is today, they would have been able to fix his knee, would have played for like 10, 12 years. And in today's game, Billy Sims would have been phenomenal. Billy, those of you, if you haven't watched some Billy Sims highlights, he was as good as it gets. So did Stafford and the Rams work their way. No, okay. I made this list 3 years ago. So the Chiefs, the Bucks, and the Rams, obviously because I made the list before those three teams. But out of those three teams, the Bucks would be the only one I would consider. I'd have to kind of step back. But as of right now, no. Do you think he'll play this year? Yes, I do. I think Deshaun Watson will play this year. I don't know if it's going to be a 4, 6, or 8 week suspension, but I do think that the Cleveland Browns, because they did give him, a $200 million guaranteed, I think they're going to step in and they're going to say, wait, we made this trade. He was cleared of criminal charges. He should be able to play. And I think the fact that he's been cleared of all criminal charges, he will play this year. I don't think he's going to play day one. Mazement, what's up, brother? What about my Bucks? Our defense was incredible because we were able to take the ball away a ton and score with it. A lot of teams didn't do on defense. God, you know what? I'm very, very embarrassed because I didn't even give the 2000 Buccaneers an honorable mention. And the answer is no. Keenan McCardell was a part of that team. For those of you who don't know, Keenan McCardell is a very, very, very good receiver. John Gruden energized the Tampa Bay team, one of the greatest defenses of all time. Offensively, it not enough to really be on a top 10 list as far as I'm concerned. The number 6 team, the NFL Network had ranked as 21. But I really felt like they needed to be on this list. This was probably my most controversial and the one I wanted to debate the most on is the 2016 New England Patriots. And this is the team that came back from 28-3 to win the Super Bowl. And that says a lot. But this team was for those of you who don't remember, the first 4 games of the season, Brady had to sit out. So he only played in the last 12. But those 12 games, 28 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And I think that you get peak Brady. You get Brady pissed off. He seriously, he wanted that trophy and he wanted Roger Goodell to give it to him after suspending him for what he considered to be a bunch of bullshit. They suspended Brady, whether you argue, don't argue, but I remember Deflategate. I was so sick of it. Like, you couldn't turn on the TV without balls being deflated. I mean, they did a skit on Saturday Night Live. Yeah, the comeback. Yeah. That's part of the reason why I got him on 6. You get peak Brady. You have maybe the greatest coach of all time, maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. Gronk, okay, one of the things about my list is that I'm doing Super Bowl teams. Gronk did not play in that Super Bowl. Gronk did not play on that Super Bowl. So Edelman, you get peak Edelman. The defense was very, very good. Very, very, very good. So Dan, did you hear that the Watsons decided to offer to pay out and not all the women wanted to sign it, plus the women that did service him had to sign an NDA to give him a massage. Did you see the texting from one female ended up with her saying, I can ruin your career with what you proposed? No, I didn't see or hear any of that funk. Um, and this is, something that the more and more it comes out, the worse and worse it sounds. Again, when instead of trying to get justice, when you're trying to get a paycheck, that kind of sends a red flag to me. And I think that part of like the Amber Heard thing, which I was a really big fan of. I love the fact that a girl um, falsely accused a man of something and got punished. Now Amber Heard's not going to jail, and even though she has to pay Johnny Depp, it's like 10 million. She's really probably not going to pay even close to that. But I think more and more repercussions are coming out for women that falsely accuse guys. Out of everybody that Deshaun Watson is saying did something wrong, I guarantee you there's several of those women that I actually, if I had to say a number, I would say over half guaranteed nothing happened. They're just like in it to try to get a cash grab. And that's what I think a lot of this is. Now, there's an old saying, when there's smoke, there's fire. So something, he's cleared of all criminal charges. But the NFL is going to do something. I think week 1, guaranteed off the books, you're going to see Jacoby Brissett. Is he going to play this year? I actually think he does, but we'll have to wait and see. And the more and more this comes out, the more and more we'll talk about it. But no, I don't really know what everything that you brought up is new. It's something I haven't seen. And dude, if you want to, man, it'd mean a lot if you email me. I get the notifications on my phone. So like if you email me, I'll get back to you. So. My dude Watson just is. yeah, he probably does. Since there's always turnover with playoff teams, what teams you have perhaps missing playoff? Usually it's a handful that missed the postseason, made it the year before, maybe have to do a bid. I thought about doing that because what I'm doing is that I'm taking next week off, and then when I come back on the 24th, I'm kind of going to like try to really kind of build up my YouTube channel a little more and I'm going to try to have a guest on for the 24th. But then when I start breaking down all the teams, I'm going to do that because one team always goes from first to worst, and then there's always one team that makes the playoffs that's not going to make the playoffs. And I kind of want to do that after I break down all 32 teams individually. And I'll do like a video or like worst to first to worst, and talk about teams that won the division, the 8 division winners, which one will fall. And then I did a live stream a couple of weeks ago where I talked about the 8 last place teams and which one's most likely to win the division this year. And I think that's the Ravens. I think of all the 8 teams that finished last, technically them and the Browns finished with the same record, but the way the tiebreaker thing works out, the Ravens were ranked lower. So, but yeah, that's actually a great idea, and that's something I'm going to do. I want to do the videos breaking down all 32 teams, and then I'm going to do like maybe a few other videos before the season actually kicks off, because one thing I pride myself on is that I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And like a lot of people just make these hot takes, and then, it's hot air. Or I'm going to do my hot takes and I'll put my money where my mouth is. So I was in St. Pete for the Bucks' first Super Bowl win. The prior 3 seasons were electric and disappointing until smacking the Eagles and embarrassing. Yeah, the Bucks team, when I did my honorable mentions, I didn't even bring them in, and I should have, because if you probably remember this, they came very close to beating the Rams. Bert Emanuel had a catch, and it was ruled a catch, and then they went back and looked at it. I may have it mixed up, but anyway, it was a very controversial call. For those of you who don't remember, they won. It was a really weird game. It was like 13-10. Is that right? Was it 13-10? For a long time, it was 5-6. And the Bucks defense had the Rams stopped. I mean, they just stopped. Ricky Prohl had a late touchdown. But Bert Emanuel had a controversial catch, and you probably remember details. I don't, but I remember it was controversial. It would have been a first down. It would have been deep in Rams territory, and they overruled it. And that was one of those plays that if that catch would have worked out for Tampa Bay may have gone and played Tennessee instead of the Rams. Tennessee may have won that game. So. That was in 99. Oh God, I'm trying. That was in 99. No. That game was was that in 99 or 2001? I think that was 2001. All right. I got my NFL history mixed up. Pride. Oh wow. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a little behind on comment. Pride. There's a female that told him that the timeline puts her at the beginning of the issue. I don't think Watson will play this year. It's just getting too much leak. Browns were smart to keep Baker because I think his value will increase with quarterbacks getting potentially injured. No. Well, what they did is they signed Jacoby Brissett. Brissett's going to be the quarterback. And what they're doing is they're just keeping Baker, but Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starting. It looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback week 1. Jacoby Brissett's a good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. And what the Browns want to do offensively, Brissett will be able to. Brissett may end up being a really good quarterback, but I think they're just holding out for Baker. And I actually think that what they really want to do is because they gave up a lot of draft picks for Watson. I think they don't want draft capital. I think they want a player. I think they want to get a player in return. And then every year there's always injuries that happen, one player gets injured, hey, Baker's here. What do you got? So awesome at Denver Gator. Felt so good beating the Eagles. I hated them so much, but my Rams hatred has resurfaced. His lawyer said making a woman uncomfortable isn't a crime and happy endings aren't a crime. Like a dude, I'd be pissed if my lawyer said that happy endings classifies positive. Yeah. Yeah, I heard that and I'm like, I can't believe a lawyer said that. Now, the first party's right. The happy endings thing, he's wrong. So, amazing, man. I remember Bucks beat the Eagles in the last game of that old stadium and beat them in the first home opener in the new stadium. I was shocked that I was floored when they went to the vet. For those of you who don't remember that game, Brian Westbrook almost ran to kick back for a touchdown. They scored in like the first couple minutes. And then I think they had a turnover. And I want to say they're up like 10. Joe Jaravicius, kind of a weird career for Joe Jaravicius. I remember him playing at Penn State. And is either his daughter was hospitalized or died, or it was something very dramatic. And it happened just days before the game, and he said he was going to play. He ended up with a catch and run. I don't think it was a touchdown. It was like a 60-plus yard play that really kind of turned the game around. Without Joe Jaravicius, they don't win that game. And then after that, everything just went the Bucs' way. McNabb kind of choked. Andy Reid got cute and throwing the ball all over the field. AFC Championship game against the Bengals. We've seen it too. And it was the first time the Bucs won a playoff game on the road in freezing temperatures, or when it was below freezing. It was like right at 30. I mean, it wasn't terrible conditions, but it wasn't good. So I hope you go to a game. Please take pictures. Please take pictures for me. Yeah. Amazement. If I'm Baker, I tell the Browns I want to raise. I think the way the contract's set up is that he gets paid no matter what. I don't know I don't know if a team, here's what I don't know, if he gets traded, if another team has to pay that, or if the Browns, but right now he's been excused and he gets $18.6 million regardless. So it's not a bad consolation prize. Oh yes. I'm sorry. Yes, bring up that painful Rams game, Dan. It was 11-6. We were 5 minutes away from winning the NFC, if not for the Ricky Prohl touchdown and that Bert Emanuel catch too. It wasn't clean though. It made me, I thought it was a catch. I actually argued that it was a catch, but it was very controversial. Emmanuel makes that catch. Tampa Bay probably goes to the Super Bowl that year. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. He may gain some leverage back. Pride, I'd want to go to. Seriously, if I'm Baker, I would have pushed the Steelers, and I'm kind of surprised the Steelers, instead of going with Trubisky and Pickett, that they didn't reach out, because I think Baker would have been a great fit in Pittsburgh. So. Yep, shout out to Eagles 20-0 in the new stadium. That I didn't know. I didn't remember anyway. But yeah, the Bucks had several years where they were really good. I didn't even give them an honorable mention. I probably should have, because I gave 99 Rams an honorable mention. So number 5 is the 85 Bears. The NFL Network had them as the number 2. I have them as number 5, and my argument was no Hall of Fame quarterback, no Hall of Fame coach. Now, Ditka isn't a Hall of Fame, but he's a Hall of Fame tight end. He's not a Hall of Fame coach. The offense also, now Walter Payton is a Hall of Fame running back, but his career started in 1975. It ended in 87. This is 85. You're not getting Walter Payton at his peak. You're getting Walter Payton, I want to say 31 at the time. He had a great year. He had over 1,500 yards off the top of my head, but he averaged, I think it was like 4.1, 4.2 yards a carry. He wasn't the same guy. Walter Payton's best season, I think, was in 78, where he almost hit 1,900. And he was a threat to go for 2,000 in a 14-game season. But the last game of the season was like freezing rain in the Meadowlands, where it was like basically a hockey rink. If it was an indoor game, he might have had a chance, because that at the time, that Giants team was terrible. So like a dry stadium, or even with technology the way it is now, where the field wasn't ice, he may have threatened 2,000. But that's 7 years ago. So you're not getting peak Peyton, and you don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback. You don't have a Hall of Fame coach. Statistically, the 86 Bears defense was better. It really was. Go back and look. But I got the Bears at 85, the 85 Bears at number 5. A lot of people would argue, but I got them as 5. Number 4 is the 94 49ers, and the NFL Network has them as 19. I got them at 4 because this is the best team I've ever seen. They were the second best team in 92 and 93 when the Cowboys won. And then what they did is they brought Deion Sanders into the team, but they also brought in, I don't remember if they brought in Ricky Jackson the same time. Tim McDonald was brought in the year before. I'm going to read these comments. I'm going to go on my rant why the 94 49ers is the best team I've ever seen. But yeah, I've already seen the Vikings and the Bears. I'm missing something about the Vikings and the Bears. Or sorry, my eye is itching. My eye is itching, and I'm rubbing my nose. It is not cocaine. I apologize. One Pride. I'm kind of one of my rant. All right, I'm sorry. I missed it. Amazement. 18.5 million if he takes a snap or not. Browns fans have to be real butthurt, especially if the league voids the trade because they lose a draft pick. Okay. First of all, the league can't void the trade. The trade already happened. The picks are already exchanged. There's nothing you can do about it. The Browns made the trade once they found out the no criminal charges were held. Now, can they get the future trade picks reversed if the Houston Texans were held? There's a lot that's still going on, but the way I understand it is the trade's over and done with. Buyer's remorse for the Browns. Baker will get the 18.5, but the Browns they signed Jacoby Brissett to be the backup quarterback. That's the contingency plan, not Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield, they're really just kind of holding out right now. And I honestly think that they would have preferred to get draft picks, but now I think that they want a player. I'm not involved with the Cleveland Browns. I'm not in Cleveland. I'm just kind of spitballing what I think, because This is a team that they thought would take the next step up. They thought would take the next step up. They tried, I think, the year before to get Baker Mayfield to sign a 3-year, $93 million extension. The 18.5 is what they got. But they were trying to say, hey, look, stay here. We'll give you $31 million a year. And he goes, no, Mahomes is making, $500 million. I want that type of money. And they're like, well, you're not Patrick Mahomes. And he thought he was. So he did something that I like players to do. And he said, hey, look, I'm going to prove it. And then he didn't. He rolled the dice and he lost. He 7'd out. He shot snake eyes, whatever craps reference you want to use. So he didn't. He went ahead and rolled the dice. It didn't work out. This was supposed to be a year. They remember all the changes they made defensively. They added all those free agents. They added Clowney. The middle linebacker from the Colts played really, really well. John Williams, really very, very good safety from the Rams. They loaded up. They won a playoff game, and then they got better on paper. And I tried telling you guys, I remember, go back to last year, watch some of the old videos. I told you, I said, you watch, Cleveland's going to take a step down, not up. And they didn't go to the playoffs. And so what they did is they said, you know what, the problem's Baker Mayfield. Because on paper, they really have a good team. They really do. Their defense is loaded with talent. I don't have it up right now. I can pull it up if you want, but that Browns defense is absolutely loaded. So, and I think Williams comes back week 5. That actually would not be terrible, but it does bother me that he's not going to enter training camp healthy. I'll stand by it that the Lions made a mistake trading up to 12 to get him, because I really think that they needed somebody to come into training camp healthy. Even if he has a great, 11, 12 games, I still think it's a mistake. However, going into next year, if everybody comes back next year, it'll be very interesting, because remember, the Lions still get 2 number 1s. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do. Pride, go see the Pack then. I've seen the inaugural game at Ford Field against them, set in the end zone where Ricks dropped back-to-back bombs for the game. I don't remember that game. Off the top of my head. Pride, I don't think he misses a game. I don't think he starts or even sees a lot of snaps. So I don't think he misses week 1. This is going to be something I want to hear about. That's like what I'm really excited about, Hard Knocks. I want to hear about that. I know, but I wanted to see them win the last 2 times. I've seen them took L's. That's hard. I've been a Chiefs. Hey, listen, I've been a Chiefs season ticket holder since '89. I've seen a lot of bad seasons at Arrowhead. The 2-14 year, they didn't go winless at Arrowhead. They won 1 game. It was after John a blank on his name, but after the Chiefs player killed his girlfriend and drove to Arrowhead and thanked Romeo Crennel, and then went in the parking lot, blew his brains out in front of Romeo Crennel. Worst season in Chiefs history. Next year they brought in Andy Reid, and but anyway, the game afterward, there was a moment of silence for domestic violence. Chiefs organization handled that perfectly, and they went out and won that game. The only game at Arrowhead they won that year. The other game was week 3. They were down to the Saints, and Jamal Charles just exploded. One of the greatest plays in NFL history. Had a 94-yard touchdown run. It was amazing. Anyway, I'm starting. 5 to 7 month recovery surgery was the beginning of February. 7 months, but took you weeks before the season. He's already doing ladder drills. Yeah, I've been paying attention to social media. I was hoping that he wasn't going to be on Hard Knocks to the boot, because if he was, I was like, this is going to look really bad. But yeah, I've been watching him on social media. He's doing drills. He's not wearing a boot. The surgery recovery is ahead of schedule. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a big story on Hard Knocks. So I'm really excited to see it. So, no show next week. I need a birthday shout out next Sunday. Me and Pop's going to a dine-in theater to watch the Top Gun on Great. Hey man, happy birthday, Denver Gator. Hey man, you follow me on social media. If you hit me up on social media, I'll respond to you. I originally was not planning on seeing Top Gun, but everybody I've talked to said it's great. Everybody I talked to said it's great. So I'll probably have to reverse my decision. I'll probably see it. You saw Romeo retired after 50 years in the league. Well, yeah, I actually think that he's a Hall of Famer, even though he was a terrible head coach. Hall of Fame coordinator belongs in the Hall of Fame. As a head coach, one of the worst I've ever seen. One of the worst I've ever seen. But you know. Oh yeah, for those of you that don't know, I mean, it's funny. ACL now, people talk about the ACL like a sprained ankle. It used to be an ACL ended your career. It used to be if you had an ACL injury, you were done. You were 100% finished. Now you can injure your ACL and come back, and it's like, oh, it's an ACL, it's okay. And now, I mean, ruptured Achilles tendon. I remember Eric Fisher for the Chiefs. He ruptured his Achilles tendon, came back in the AFC Championship game, and he came back to training camp 6 months later. It was training camp with the Colts, not the Chiefs. But that was an injury that used to if you ruptured your Achilles tendon, it was game over. Your career is over. So yeah, Romeo Crennel, very solid dude. Really, really good guy. Very, very good coach. Terrible head coach. One of the best defensive coordinators of all time. Not hyperbole. Not hyperbole. Not hyperbole. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank here. Mike Vrabel, the Tennessee Titans head coach, he was an assistant under Vrabel at Houston, because after the Chiefs, after he actually voluntarily stepped down and then he took over as the Houston Texans defensive coordinator. Mike Vrabel was he left the Chiefs. He was very unhappy with being traded to the Chiefs when Vrabel, or when Romeo Crennel left. Vrabel took the outside linebacker's position at Ohio State. I may be wrong about the exact title, but he left the Chiefs to go to Ohio State. It wasn't popular with the Kansas City Chiefs at the time, but lucky for the Chiefs, they had a dude by the name of Justin Houston that was ready to take over. So Pride, Braylon Edwards. Oh God, yes. Tore his ACL in December, like 16 years ago. They thought he missed most of the next season. He didn't miss one game. Achilles are still career ending. No. Eric Fisher ruptured his Achilles in the AFC Championship game. That was a big reason why the offensive line was so bad in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. 6 months later, he reported to training camp. Didn't miss a game. It wasn't a very good left tackle last year for the Colts, but it's not career ending. I thought it was an ACL injury, but it was an Achilles. Yeah, and if that's the case, then he came back after 6 months. He could really cut like Akers used to. Achilles injury is the next ACL a few years down the road because less than this year. Yeah, it is. It really is, Denver Gator. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'll tell you what, due to time constraints, and also I did make a video if you want to find out why I got the 94 49ers. But when they added Deion Sanders, this was the second best team in the NFL for 2 years. But when they added Deion Sanders, the worst part of the 49ers was they had a bad corner opposite Eric Davis. They had Merton Hanks, and he was not a very good corner. And there was talk that he may get cut, but when they moved him to free safety, he became a Pro Bowl safety. So you took the weakness of the second best team and you made it into a strength. Deion Sanders won defensive MVP. He had 6 interceptions, returned 3 for touchdowns. Ricky Waters, who I think he belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Probably won't get there. Ricky Waters was part of that team. John Taylor, Jerry Rice, part of that team. Steve Young, his MVP season was in 94. The defense loaded with Hall of Famers and very, very good. Oh God, what was it? I remember McDonald. I can't remember. He was with the Cardinals, went to several Pro Bowls as a Cardinal, but didn't get a lot of name recognition because the Cardinals were really bad. But when he went to the 49ers, he was at the end of his career. He was basically a linebacker playing strong safety. But with Deion Sanders, a guy that doesn't like to tackle, it was like 1 + 1 = 3. I could go on and on why the 94 49ers was the best team I've ever seen. The NFL Network gave them 19. They're my number 4 team of all time. I firmly believe the 94 49ers would have beaten the 85 Bears. The main reason is Deion Sanders. I think Deion Sanders would make a play in that game, whether it's on special teams or a pick six to beat that game, but to beat that team. So the 78 Steelers, both me and the NFL Network has his number 3. This is where Funk he hates my list, but the number 2 team of all time, the NFL. I have my number 2 Super Bowl team of all time is the '66 Packers. The NFL Network has them as 13th of all time. The one thing that me and the NFL Network will agree upon is that the '62 Packers probably was better than the '66 Packers. But I think as far as Super Bowl winning teams, I think that the '66 Packers might be the second best team. I'll be honest, I thought about flip-flopping the 78 Steelers and the 66 Packers, but the reason why I think the 66 Packers are the second best team of all time is the defense was just phenomenal. Hall of Famers all over that defense, all 3 levels. Okay. Herb Adderley, and I'm drawing a blank on the other corner. I think both of them are in the Hall of Fame, but Herb Adderley was in the Hall of Fame. Nitschke, one of the best middle linebackers of all time, Dave Johnson. Actually, the defensive line was really, really, really good. But that defense, one of the greatest defenses of all time. Bart Starr is the best Packers postseason quarterback, bar none. Over 100 quarterback rating in both Super Bowls, elevated his game in the Super Bowls. I can actually make a strong argument that Bart Starr is the greatest Packers quarterback of all time, but you have to understand something, that the Packers were built on the power sweep. Now, the one thing about the '66 Packers, when I did the list, I kind of put the list in order and I made some changes. The Golden Boy, Paul Hornung, did not play in Super Bowl I. So even though I'd love to say that they have 2 Hall of Fame running backs, they really don't. They only have 1. Jim Taylor had a really good Super Bowl. I think, I don't remember if it was 66 or 67, but he left after one of those. He left after one of those seasons, and he was winding down the end of his career, so he wasn't the dominant player. But you had Bart Starr, Hall of Fame, great quarterback, Hall of Fame running back, only 1, not 2, because Hornung didn't technically play in that game. But the greatest coach in NFL history, debatable. So, I might go back and revisit the list, but right now I got number 2 in as the '66 Packers. So. I love Merton Hanks and Marquise Pope. They would make a play and do that rubberneck chick. Oh, yeah. Yeah, remember that? I can't even do it. Yeah. But when Merton Hanks was a corner, they picked on him in the 92 and 90. If you go back and watch the 92 and 93 conference championship games, they picked on Merton Hanks as a corner. But when they put Deion Sanders in as corner, he moved to free safety and went to the Pro Bowl that year as a safety. And then they had Tim McDonald. That was the name I'm thinking of. So here's the thing. You had Merton Hanks, the former corner, tackling's not a strong suit. Deion Sanders, tackling's not a strong suit. Then you get Tim McDonald. And Tim McDonald was basically a linebacker playing strong safety. And his job, he was the enforcer. So the 94 Niners, it sounds crazy to say, but that secondary and that team was actually a very physical team. And I know you have Deion Sanders on a team, and you're like, well, how's this team physical? Because Tim McDonald was basically a linebacker. Tim McDonald's a thumper. Tim McDonald is a guy I will argue should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he played on some really, really terrible St. Louis Cardinals teams. It was St. Louis Cardinals back then. Wasn't that right? Or is that Arizona? 80s? I'm drawing a blank on when they moved to. I want to say I think St. Louis was still in the 80s, but anyway, that secondary was very good. and you have the perfect pieces that mesh together. You also have, excuse me, Ricky Jackson. That was the name I was trying to think of. Ricky Jackson, a Hall of Fame player from the Dome Patrol. He was a part-time player, but he really brought something to the team that really can't be put into metrics. One of the greatest players of all time, part-time players, defensive end, moved from outside linebacker to defensive end later in his career. Wasn't a starter, but really added something to that team. I'll argue that 94 49ers team was just amazing. Jerry Rice in his prime, Ricky Waters. He left the next year to go to Philly and just put up some phenomenal numbers the next couple of years in Philly. I'll argue should be in Pro Football Fame, but probably won't get there. Pro Bowl tight end, and Steve Young's best season. So I will argue this. 19's way too low. The NFL Network is wrong here. The NFL Network is wrong. But number 2, I have the 66 Packers, and then my number 1 team is the 72 Dolphins. Till another team does the same thing, you can't say that they're not the best team in history. And like I said, the defense gave up fewer points than the 85 Bears, but they got a Hall of Fame halfback, Hall of Fame fullback, Hall of Fame wide receiver, Hall of Fame quarterback. Bob Greasy was a good quarterback. Today's standards, he wouldn't be, but back then, he ran the offense perfectly. Had a good deep ball, had a good arm, had the greatest glasses of any NFL quarterback of all time. I agree that might be the reason behind the Pascal pick. I'm thinking Romeo Okoro might be in trouble because we haven't heard nothing about him, and he hasn't in camp. I thought Funk said he was going to bulk up and play the 5 technique and replace Brocker. Okay, yeah. Pascal is here to replace Brockers long term. He'll play from 3 out to 7. So the plan is this year to be an edge rusher, and then next year to be a 5 technique. It's not a bad idea. I again should not have been picked at 46. When you have a player who's available in the 3rd round, you pick him up early at 46. Not smart, but is a player I like, and that's actually not a bad plan. So what you do is you got somebody who can spell Hutchinson. You always want to back up who's high caliber. So you want somebody to back up Hutchinson, back up Okura, and then long time to replace Brockers. That might not be a bad idea. I don't know, but I agree Romeo may be in trouble. Absolutely. Listen, every front 7 player on the Lions except for Hutchinson is in trouble. And that's how this organization should address it. And the reason why is that this whole team really needs a talent infusion. So everybody should be in trouble. And I like that they're adding players in here like this. So Pride Pascal bullied guards in college. When they have McNeil, Levi, Pascal on the field, Pascal play edge. Then when they drop to 2 defensive linemen, him and Levi will play inside. So he's going to replace McNeil on passing situations. I don't know if I like that. It'll be interesting. This is actually something I'm actually really looking forward to watching when preseason starts. How they use Pascal, and then how do they use Thibodeau, and how they use McNeil. I want to see how they play because you'd have to tell me, because I thought McNeil was better suited as a 4-3 tackle, and then he's going to play the nose tackle in a I'm going to use it again to quote 4-3-4 defense. But is he bulked up where he's trying to be like a space eater? Is this now a guy who's 325, or is this one of those nose tackles like Kenny Clark who's more athletic? You'd have to answer that question. That's something I want to see. And then Ozurike, Levi Ozurike. Did I get the last name right? I probably didn't, but he was banged up last year. Sat out for COVID. Probably should have been a 1st-round pick. He was a guy I really liked. He's got to figure out how to play in the NFL. He's the only draft pick that I think I was disappointed in. So, while Hutch and Harrison move up to a hand bin the dirt edge, play inside. Okay, so Hutch and Harris will be on the edge, and then Pascal and Ozarike will be on the inside. That actually is not bad. I wouldn't mind that at all. That's not a bad front. That's not a bad front four. Not gonna lie, Dan, Waters and Cunningham was the most fun football to watch. Oh yeah, dude, Ricky Waters. For those of you who do not know, Ricky Waters. I'm you know what though? I'm not sure Cunningham and Waters were on the. Because I know 98 Cunningham was in. No, that's right. They were on the same team. They were on the same team. They had some fun teams. Fred Barnett was a fun guy to watch. They also had Keith Jackson. But that defense, oh God. They had a linebacker that I used to just have the biggest man crush on. Oh God. I'm embarrassed. I forgot his name. They had a linebacker that could do everything. They had a linebacker, and I'm drawing a blank on that Eagles team. One of the best linebackers I've ever seen in my life. Not an elite pass rusher. He could do everything. And I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. I'm so embarrassed. One of my all-time favorite football players. And I'm drawing a complete blank. But, oh, God, that Eagles team is a lot of fun to watch. McNeil and Pascal, or McNeil and Levi, or Pascal and Levi. McNeil has a little bit of Jerry Ball to him. And that's why I was kind of curious. Is he going to – I got a fly in here. I got killed. Is he going to bulk up? Because in college, he wasn't really a big dude. He wasn't a guy. I think at the combine it was like 305, and I was kind of curious: is he going to slim down? Is he going to bulk up? And that would be it. Quarterback Cunningham, quarterback, receiver, Art, running back, punter. Yes, punter. He was exciting to watch. He has a 91-yard punt. Yeah, he actually punted in game. He actually, when he was the quarterback at UNLV, he also punted. He was the quarterback and the punter in college. Danny White did the same thing. I'm trying to think of any other quarterbacks that was punters. I think those two off the top of my head were the only ones that was it. Right? Randall Cunningham was so much fun to watch. And that team had a lot of fun. Keith Jackson, I talked about him on the 96 Packers. Keith Jackson, Keith Jackson's a guy I would love to see like in today's game. For those, I really wish I could explain how talented Keith Jackson was. I mean, this is a dude who was 260, 265, and was faster than most receivers. And nobody really, he was never really utilized properly ever. Cunningham's arm Cunningham had a big arm. Big time arm. What he didn't have was accuracy. And what happened is the reason why he ended up getting booted out in Philly was that John Gruden came in and under Gruden they were going to run the West Coast offense. And people at first were like, hey, this is perfect because the West Coast offense, a lot of bootlegs, a lot of movement, and it turned out to be a disaster because Randall Cunningham at the time. Randall Cunningham was a big star in Philly. All right. He was a big star in Philly. And then he had the injury and then he missed a year, came back and he said, you know what? I'm going to be Randall Cunningham. All right. I'm not going to stay in the pocket. I'm going to be me. Then they bring in John Gruden. And then the thought process was, hey, Cunningham doesn't want to play in the pocket. Let's bring in a West Coast guy who's going to introduce him to bootlegs, rollouts, and then he can be, it would be a good offense, but it was a disaster because you have to be accurate on the run. Well, one thing about Randall Cunningham, he wasn't really an accurate quarterback. He just had a big arm, but he wasn't overly accurate. And one thing is about Randall Cunningham was that if he ran around and scrambled and threw the ball deep, that was one thing. But he wasn't a guy that if he scrambled around, he was really overly accurate. Cunningham maybe yes. Bing, that again, Funk, you take the words that are in here, you put them on here, and Cunningham more of a run and gun guy Randall Cunningham in the West Coast offense did not work at all. The West Coast offense is very complicated. And Randall Cunningham, by the way, I'm not insulting Randall Cunningham. I'm telling you, Randall Cunningham said Randall Cunningham admits he didn't watch film the way he watched film with the Vikings. Right? He admits that, hey, I didn't watch enough film. Gruden was frustrated because what Gruden wanted and what Cunningham wanted was not on the same page because Cunningham at that time didn't watch enough film. The West Coast offense is extremely complicated because when you line up at the line of scrimmage, the receiver has basically I'm dumbing this down, so it's actually more complicated than I'm explaining it. But the receiver has what's called a two-way. So what it is, when the receiver lines up, depends on what the defense shows, he's going to run either one of two routes. In reality, it's one of several routes. But it all depends on what your pre-snap reads are. So Cunningham, he didn't do the research. He just wanted that if a defensive back came in, he would run, and he wanted to throw the receiver down the field. And that's what he wanted to do. And that's what he did early in his career. That's what Buddy Ryan had him do. Buddy Ryan's just like, look, 1, 2, run, just run, make something happen. Just get creative. You know, I got a great defense. You make a couple splash plays, then we'll be fine. Seth Joyner, that's the linebacker, number 59 for the Eagles, one of the best football players of all time. I love Seth Joyner, probably never be in a Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was driving me nuts. Guy, was driving me nuts. I couldn't. Seth Joyner, not a pass rusher, one of the best linebackers I've ever seen play. Should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Anyway, yeah. So Gruden benched Cunningham for Bubby Brister, and then it kind of things went downhill. And then he went to the Vikings, placed Brad Johnson, won MVP, and to this day, that the '98 Vikings is. The 98 Vikings is the best team never to go to a Super Bowl, in my opinion. The 98 Vikings team, the NFL Network used to have a show called Missing Rings, and they showcased the 98 Vikings. Every time I watch that, I'm convinced the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl. Oh, God. When Cunningham quarterbacked the 98 Vikings, that was the best team I've ever seen never make a Super Bowl. And that year, he just said, it was funny. He just laughed. It was comical. It was comical because he just went back and I'm just going to throw it deep to Randy Moss because he can outrun everything. But yeah, Funk, I couldn't have said it better myself. Run from the blitz and drop bombs from the pocket. Is that what you say, Randall? Yes. That was it. He wanted to throw bombs, and if you blitz, he wanted to run and make something happen. And at the time, on paper, I understand the Eagles saying, hey, you got a quarterback who can run. Let's bring in a West Coast offense. And let's bring in John Gruden. He's a young guy. He's going to get along great with Randall. And it didn't work out. Oh, yeah. I'm not – when I talk about some of the worst teams to ever go to a Super Bowl, that Falcons team makes the list. And Denver Gator, you may get mad. That 98 Vikings team, if John Randall's healthy, that 98 Vikings team beats Denver by double digits. John Randall got injured in the game previous. And then he was trying to make it a go, and then they cut him and I'm quoting this from the Missing Ring show. They cut him, and then he couldn't play. John Randall healthy, they win this game. John Randall healthy against Denver, they win by double digits. If you go back and you watch that 98 NFC Championship game, there was so many weird, fluky things. Number one, Randall Cunningham stayed in the pocket almost the whole season, just threw deep to Randy. For some reason, he wanted to scramble, move around, had a fumble or two in that game. Randy Moss, I know, dropped at least one touchdown. I don't know if it was – I know he dropped a couple passes, but I know he dropped about I know he dropped at least one touchdown, but the worst part of it was the score was 27-20. The Vikings had several defensive injuries in that game. John Randall was early, then they lost like 2 or 3 other starters. But it was like 3 minutes or 4 minutes left in the game. Gary Anderson hasn't missed a kick in 2 years. 37-yard field goal, and he kicks it left. He just kicks it wide. It was a gimme. I mean, he hadn't missed a kick in 2 years, and the whole team just kind of like, it was just like they just kind of went numb. Like the whole team just kind of like didn't know what to do. There was no argument about the coin toss. Even though the Falcons won the coin toss, they kicked a field goal. If it was in today's game, today's rules, I think the Vikings would have won that game because they would have got the ball back. They would have scored a touchdown. They if nothing else, they just would have handed the ball to Randy Moss. But yeah. Nobody even talks about Jake Reed, Funk. Nobody even talks about Jake Reed. Jake Reed was a freak of nature. I want to say he went to Grambling. I could be wrong about that. He was built like Terrell Owens. He was like 6'3", 230, raw as hell, like a 4'4" dude. And with Chris Carter, he was a really, really good number 2 guy. And then they bring in Randy Moss, and it's like, well, is he? It was funny. I remember somebody saying, "Well, is he as good of an athlete as Jake Reed?" And it's like, yeah, he is. But Jake Reed, like, he went from being the number 2 guy who had all the talent and was projected. The Vikings originally, when they drafted Jake Reed, was like, listen, you're going to work with Chris Carter, and eventually you're going to be the number 1 guy, and Chris Carter's going to be the number 2 guy. Then they bring in Randy Moss, and like he really didn't know how to really handle that because the team kind of went as an afterthought. I think he had a decent year, but that was like the end of Jake Reed's career, more or less. But man, Jake Reed, really good player. They had Robert Smith. Robert Smith's a very, very interesting story in his own right. Track star in high school and in college, ran track for Ohio State. Slow on this team, but he really, really good player. Really, really good running back. What's funny is my woman knows nothing about football, but she knows the Vikings missed a kick and lost in the NFC Championship game. The show How I Met Your Mother has a whole episode with this is a true story. All right. Thanksgiving, that the Cowboys played the Vikings, and Randy Moss thought he was going to be drafted by the Cowboys, and he was passed up, and he was really mad about that game. And if you go back and you watch, as a matter of fact, just a few days ago, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, they had a mini Moss movie, and they show like all the highlights of Randy Moss, and they show that Thanksgiving game. I was at the long story of this one girl I used to see, and her grandmother doesn't know the difference between a touchdown, a home run, or a hat trick. Knows nothing about sports. Is this 4'6" Italian grandmother? That the third touchdown where Randy Moss catches that short pass, she looks at TV. There's a lady who knows nothing about football. She looks at TV. She goes, "Did you see that?" It's so comical because this lady knows nothing. She points at, she goes, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And like, so it's funny because both of us know women that know nothing about football, but remember something from that 98 Vikings team. I've never seen that show, How I Met Your Mother, but I wish I'm actually going to look at that because I do want to see that, because I remember watching that game. I remember watching that game and feeling so bad for the Vikings. Now, keep in mind, at the time, the Chiefs were going through some really rough patches of their own, and I felt bad for the Vikings. Like the late 90s was just devastating for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I felt just heartbroken for the Vikings. I really thought that I was watching. I remember when they lost to Tampa Bay. They started the season 7-0 or 8-0, and then they lost to Tampa Bay. Tony Dungy left the Vikings as their defensive coordinator, took over as a the head coach for the Vikings, but he built that Vikings defense. It was small, it was fast, and really, really pretty good. Not great, good. And he had Tampa Bay. It was like 100. It was one of those Tampa Bay games that it was like 105 on the field. It was just crazy. They had Allstott they had done, and anyway, it was just crazy. After they lost that game, I really didn't think they would lose another game. I really didn't. I was like, okay, they got their loss out of the way. They're going to go undefeated now. And I really believed it. That team was so good. So good. Randall, one of my favorites of all time. Broncos were scared to play the Vikings. Footage of players and fans keeping track of the Vikings. I'm telling you right now, if John Randall was healthy for that Super Bowl, and if okay, like Randy Moss catches the touchdown pass, John Randall doesn't get hurt, 1 of 5 or 4 or 5 players from the Vikings don't get hurt, all those things doesn't matter. They make that kick, it's game over. And make the kick, it's game over. It really is. But so many things could have happened. But bottom line, they play Denver in the Super Bowl with healthy John Randall. They win by double digits. Carter, second best of hands ever in the NFC North. Guess what? Okay, I actually didn't know you were going to go Sharp. I would put Sharp. I would put Carter's hands over Sharp. I will tell you right now, Sterling Sharp belongs in the Pro Football Fame, and Sterling Sharp is a better receiver than Chris Carter. Sterling Sharp was really good, folks, but I think Chris Carter had better hands. But man, Sterling Sharp, Sterling Sharp belongs. It's hard to say because receptions have exploded over the last couple of years, but Sterling Sharp was doing things I never thought I'd see anybody do again. He was so good. I have no idea how he's not in the Pro Football Fame. So the Broncos were showing updates on the Briggs. Yeah, you should have been. You should have been. The Falcons. It sucks because they're a 14-2 team that went to a Super Bowl, but they weren't really that good of a team. So, Funky, how about Slapsgiving, my favorite running gab on TV? Slapsgiving, too. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. The show's on Amazon and Hulu right now, I believe. Me and the wife watch that and Scrubs all the time. I really do want to watch the show where they talk about the 98 Vikings game. I'll try to locate it because I've never watched the show, but I will watch that one episode. So what's more likely? We beat Dallas or do we beat New England? Give me 1 second here because I don't even know what your schedule looks like. So let me pull up your schedule because it depends. A lot of it depends on when you play these guys. Okay, you play New England early, and then you play Dallas after the bye, but you play both on the road. I don't see you guys winning up in Foxborough, period. So definitely at Dallas because you'll have a bye, and Dallas I don't think has their bye week 6. They do not. Oh yeah, because here's definite 100% Dallas, and here's why. At Rams, at Philly, home against Detroit. Where Detroit will play New England, they'll have a bye, and then they'll play Dallas. So 100% Dallas. Not now that I looked at the schedule, 100% Dallas. Oh yeah. I am. Sterling. I think was the better player, but only played for 7 seasons. Had that horrific neck injury. I actually like him on TV. I like both of them on TV, to be honest with you. I don't think Sterling does TV anymore, but he was really good on TV. Really good on TV. Who is more underrated? Sterling Sharp, Tim Brown, or Isaac Bruce? Maybe not underrated, but most forgotten. Oh God, that's a tough one, man. That is a tough one. I could argue Sharp because he's not in the Pro Football Fame yet. Why? I have no clue. People forget how good Isaac Bruce was. Tim Brown, probably one of the 5 greatest wide receivers to ever play, and nobody will. If you did a top 10 list, top 10 wide receivers of all time, most people would exclude Tim Brown. I think he's top 5. So I mean, God, I don't know, man. I mean, I like I said, I could argue Sharp, not even in the Pro Football Fame, should be in. 100% should be in. Tim Brown played with so many bad quarterbacks in Oakland. It was ridiculous. And people forget about how good Isaac Bruce is. I mean, Isaac Bruce was part of that greatest offense of all time. And it's funny because he really was, keep in mind, both him and Holt were really wide receiver number ones, but Isaac Bruce was really the main guy. People can't forget that. My neighbors are throwing baseballs or bowling balls on the ground again. Gator, I got the Broncos in the Super Bowl. No, you don't. All right. We'll hold you. I'm gonna put a star by this here, and hopefully we can come back to this later. Please let me know if you know what episode it is. If you don't mind, I know you don't do social media. Email me. I will get it. I will watch it. I'm actually going to look for it. I got tonight off and sort of kind of tomorrow off. Next week is like super hectic, and then on the 24th, 2 weeks from now, I'm going to see if I can get somebody to come on the show. And I really want to get a guest, and I really want to try to ramp up my YouTube channel as I get ready to start my list here, which I'm going to start on the 18th. So, but I would love this. I wouldn't mind getting revenge on Matt Patricia. You know, it's really weird because nobody, I think they're leaking out false information because apparently the way that the coaching staff is now is that they really don't have an offensive coordinator. Matt Patricia is working with the offensive line. God, who else came back? It's Matt Patricia. I'm drawing a blank on the other coach who came back to New England, but they're doing some different things here in New England. So, one pride, that's awesome. I'm just hoping for one win in the playoffs. AFC West is a grind, and AFC in general is top tier. I'm going to dive into this later, but I'm going to tell you this right now, as of today, as of right now, and I kind of want to wait till training camp, OTAs, preseason starts, but I got Denver finishing last in the AFC West. I really think that they're going to be set up for failure, and the main reason is you got first time rookie head coach. I think if they would have kept their previous head coach, Fangio. You bring Russell Wilson in with Vic Fangio, that team goes to the playoffs. A first-time head coach has to keep that defense at a high level, which they won't be. The defense is going to take a big step down, and then you're trying to run that Green Bay offense, which I'm not sure Russell Wilson's really going to be a good fit for that. I think it's going to be a lot more challenging than you think. I think if anything, it's just going to take some time to acclimate all these pieces together. So, but I kind of want to see, because if everything fits into place like it should, they're as dangerous as anybody. I just don't think it will. Keep in mind, okay, let me explain what I believe. I have no insight, but let me tell you what I think. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but they brought him in. He was the Packers offensive coordinator, and Aaron Rodgers loves this guy. And there was talk about Aaron Rodgers leaving, retiring, and all that stuff. Same thing with Devontae Adams. So the Broncos brought him in, and they were thinking that if we bring in the Aaron Rodgers custom coach, we can get Aaron Rodgers to come to Denver because it worked with Peyton Manning, and we're going to do the same thing. Well, it didn't. And Rodgers stayed in Green Bay, and I think that really backfired. So what they did is they said, okay, well, let's find somebody who's close to Aaron Rodgers, and they got Russell Wilson. But it's not getting a big-time quarterback. It's doing the same thing that they did in Green Bay. We talked about Randall Cunningham. Well, the Randall Cunningham, how he's going to fit into the West Coast offense, it sounds good, but it didn't work out. I think it's the same thing. You're going to find out that Russell Wilson trying to operate in this offense that Aaron Rodgers has been running to perfection is not the same thing. And you're going to have to figure out, because here's the deal. The Denver Broncos should take a page out of what the Cleveland Browns are doing and be a run-first team that plays good enough defense to have the running backs take over. Because you're the best player on the Denver Broncos needs to be Javonte Williams. If they tried to build the offense around Russell Wilson throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game, you're going to fail. The truest thing Shannon ever said was he wasn't the best player in his family and at his Hall of Fame speech. And yeah, Sherling was awesome. Yeah, dude. Yeah, you remember that? Sterling Sharp used to be phenomenal on TV. He's not on TV anymore. I have no idea why, but yeah. And Sterling Sharp, dude, it was funny. Like Sterling Sharp would like lead the NFL in receptions. It was like he'd have like 112 and the second place guy would have like 85 or something. I mean, it was just crazy. Like you knew Sterling Sharp was getting 7 to 8. And remember those gloves he would wear? He'd wear those deep sea side. He used to wear these black deep sea diving gloves that are like for scuba divers. They weren't even. And dude, he had these giant hands that were just. Oh, dude, I seriously. After I finish up, I may go back and watch some Sterling. Dude, he was so good, and he was built like a running back. He was built like a running back. And here's the thing, as dominant as he was in today's game, he would be better. They would use bubble screens on him all the time. The dude was like Deebo Samuel with much, much better hands. I mean, he was just so good. And there's like dogs fighting outside. Okay. Look me up. I'm Dan Show. I actually listen. My Twitter account is in the description. So add me. 90 to 95% is football. Anything else, it's just personal. But I follow basically 95% on football. Trading for Wilson is big, but are the weapons as good as this? I'm sorry. Trading for Wilson is big, but are the weapons actually as good as we think? Plus, I actually think Russ is overrated. No, I think you're right, Funk. Broncos fans feel like he's got better weapons in Denver than he does in Seattle, and that's simply not true. Now, Jerry Jeudy has all the tools to be a stud, and then the other two receivers, Tim Patrick and, oh, God, the guy from SMU. Really, really good receiver. They have three really, really good receivers, but remember, your Noah Fant is going to Seattle, and he was a guy who had a lot of upside, had some injury issues. They got some good tight ends, but Denver has three good receivers, but they're not as neither one of those receivers are as good as Lockett or Metcalf, not even close. But they did bring Melvin Gordon back, which I was really surprised. Melvin Gordon's pretty good. He doesn't have his tools. And here's the thing you got to understand is that they custom built the offense in Seattle for Russell Wilson. They always did that. As soon as they realized that Russell Wilson was a star, they always custom built the offense for him. They're not doing that in Denver. This isn't a custom built offense around Russell Wilson. This is a first-time head coach bringing in a Hall of Fame quarterback. By the way, I can't emphasize this. I'm not insulting Russell Wilson when I say this. It's a downgrade from Aaron Rodgers. You're used to working with Aaron Rodgers and you're going to Russell Wilson. What Russell Wilson does is he throws a great deep ball He's exceptionally mobile, very tough, very, very tough. But when you have like a streak of like, I think it was a streak of like 170 straight games that breaks, you just don't start over. It's not like, okay, you'll be, now you're okay. You're 33. You took a lot of hits in Seattle. You missed a couple games for the first time in your career. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that when what they were doing in Seattle, I think he was maybe a top 10 quarterback, but the plan was, hey, look, we're having a good running game. We're going to have you throw deep. We're not asking you to be, like Patrick Mahomes, who drop back 50 to 60 times a game. Are they going to do that in Denver, where they're going to be a run first team? Because that's what they need to do. So, top 5, no. Absolutely. I never want to say that I know I'm right and you're wrong, but I don't think that at all. Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, those 4, no question better. No question better. All right. Let me see here. Who else would be better than Russell Wilson? Justin Herbert. Derek Carr. I just named 5. Boom. I'm not sure if Derek Carr's not better, to be perfectly honest, but let's just say. But I just gave you 5 hands down better. Joe Burrow, is he better? That's debatable. Matthew Stafford, I think he is. Kyler Murray, maybe. So. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Sterling also. Yeah, dude. I miss Sterling Sharp. Season 4 episode. I'm gonna watch it. I can't wait to see this Broncos team, but I think the defense will be a surprise. The team has a new life, new energy. That is definitely custom built for Wilson. Hackett is using Russell to design the offense. Well, that is a big deal. Yeah, I think Carr is better, to be honest with you. This is okay. All right. Their defense was 3rd in scoring, and Fangio was a long time defensive coach. You're not bringing in a first-year head coach who was a former offensive coordinator and have a better defense. It's not going to happen. I think the one thing that really hurt the Denver Broncos is Fangio's lack of offense, but you cannot discredit Fangio on the defensive side of the ball. So to sit here and say that the defense is going to be better, no, the defense is going to take a step down because Fangio is a world-class defensive coach. But new energy, new life, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you are building the offense around Russell Wilson, the one thing I question is Russell Wilson going to want to throw the ball? And here's the deal. I mean, think about it. You're in a division with Justin Herbert, who's probably going to put 5,000 up. Mahomes, who has put up 5,000. I don't know off the top of my head, and I should know this. I'm going to look it up real fast. I don't remember if Justin Herbert threw for 5,000 yards last year. I don't remember if he did. Yeah, 5,014. I thought he did. Okay. So here's the drill. You're in a division with 2 quarterbacks that have thrown for 5,000 yards. Okay. How are you going to feel when you throw for under 4? How are you going to feel when you have 200 yards passing in a win, which is what you should have? I'm not being facetious here because Javonte Williams is a stud. Melvin Gordon is a very, very good running back. So you have a nice 1-2 combination. If you throw the ball deep a couple times a game, which is Russell Wilson's strong suit, you should be doing that to loosen things up in the running game. Because the one thing about the AFC West is even though they have some really good defensive players, most of them are pass rushers, they're not run stuffers. Kansas City's not a run-stuffing team. The Raiders aren't a run-stuffing team. The Chargers were, I think, 30th in the league in stopping the run last year. That's something that they're going to make a big emphasis on. But you in order to beat these teams, you got to run the ball. Is Russell Wilson going to call an audible when he knows he only has 150 yards passing entering the fourth quarter? It may sound like I'm throwing some goofy stuff out there, but I mean, Brady for a long time was mad that he wasn't putting up the same numbers as Manning. NFL quarterbacks pay attention to this stuff. A lot of it, it's not just did we win the game, it's I put up good numbers in a win. And is Russell Wilson going to be mad when he only has 200 yards? Because if Russell Wilson thinks that he has to win a shootout, he can't win a shootout in the AFC West. That's what I worry about. And if you're a first-time head coach, is Russell Wilson going to listen to you? You can't bench him. You can't bench him. So it'll be interesting. Because if Russell Wilson was coached by Andy Reid, and Andy Reid told him, hey, listen, man, we're going to run the ball, which, of course, Andy Reid would never do. That would be a different story. I mean, so it'll be interesting. Because I'll let you know right now, if they're a run-first team and the defense is the top 10 defense, this team's going to the playoffs. So, all right. My throat is starting to Carr. I think so, man. Derek Carr's a lot better than people think, and I don't think Russell Wilson's a top 5 quarterback. Keep in mind, he was injured last year. He came back. He only missed 3 weeks when he was supposed to miss 6 to 8. Wasn't as good throwing the ball. Didn't look as good. He's going to be 33 or 34. So you're not getting prime Russell Wilson. But I do think you are getting prime Derek Carr. It'll be very interesting. It's not really a fair comparison, but Kansas City Chiefs can't have Mahomes. If I had to choose between Carr and Wilson, I would choose Carr hands down. But that's in a pass-happy offense that the Kansas City Chiefs want to run. If I was running an offense that Buffalo ran last year with designed quarterback runs, even though it's a pass-happy offense, it's a different type of offense, maybe I'd want to take Russell Wilson. So, but do I think Carr's better than Wilson? I think this year he could be. It'll be interesting. Does Wilson have the same spirit that Brady does? I mean, Tom is built a little different. I don't know, man. It's funny because I do follow Russell Wilson on social media, and he married Sierra. I don't know who she is. Apparently, she's a star singer, actress, something like that. And like he enjoys being a superstar. Denver's a bigger media market than Seattle is, and that was part of the thing is he wanted to go to a major media market. But I don't know if Wilson has that, man. I know what they tried to do in Seattle was make a pass first team, and it just didn't work. They tried to make it like the Saints offense where, Breeze was throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game, and it just didn't work, and they had to go back to run first offense. And I always knew that the more Seattle runs the ball, the better they are. Now, later in his career, his passing efficiency kept on going up and up and up. But if you want a guy to go back and throw the ball 50, 60 times a game, there's probably 10 quarterbacks I would take before Russell Wilson. Now, if I have an offense designed on quarterback runs like Philly, okay, take Philly's offense or Buffalo's offense last year, probably what they're going to do in New York. Ryan Dable, the offensive coordinator for Buffalo's in New York. Give me Russell Wilson. So, Funk is hell freezing over. We agree. Dude, happy birthday, One Pride, man. Do you follow me on social media? Because I'm trying to think here. Dude, all my social media links. Funk's going to finally follow me on Twitter. Yeah, man. If you don't, let me know. Because even though I'm on vacation, I'm going to bring my phone with me. So I definitely will give you a shout. No show next Friday, but the following Friday, I'm going to try to have a guest on. So, And that's what this channel's all about. I want to get different opinions. Just because I think something doesn't mean that it's right. I mean, everybody agrees that my top 10 list is better than the NFL Network's top 10 list. Everybody agrees on that. Like I said, I made the list 3 years ago. I put in detail why I put each team in, and also made a honorable mentions list. But I have to admit, on my honorable mentions list, I left off the 2001 Ravens, or I'm sorry, 2000 Ravens and the 2002 Bucks. I left both those teams off. So, new DC Evero worked under Fangio, Staley, Kiffin, and Morris. This team in a few years will be the new evolution of the league. Young, forward-thinking coaches with colleges putting out elite talent. Yes and no. Carolina's doing the same thing where they're running a college-based 3-3-5 defense, and it's had some positive, some negative, but a lot of times you bring in a college scheme and it doesn't work in the NFL. All right. Now sometimes it immediately works, like the Wildcat offense. Like when it first got introduced mid-season, it worked great, and then all of a sudden teams figured it out because in college, you only have a set amount of time that players can practice and study and all that. But in the NFL, it's so much more complicated. The college game and the pro game is really two separate and different things. It's really not the same. And in college, you have, Chip Kelly. All right, Chip Kelly. Remember, he innovative, brilliant offense, come to the NFL, revolutionized the NFL, and it didn't work. So I'm not really sure that the same thing's going to work, because bottom line, under Fangio, they were third in scoring defense. So trying to switch things up, bottom line, the Denver defense is going to get worse. But the offense, we said this all of last year, that the offense kept on, it looked like it was stuck in second gear. They gave, I think the number's 203. I could be wrong, but they gave exactly 203 carries to Melvin Gordon, 203 carries to Javonte Williams. They need to get Javonte Williams rolling. I mean, he's really good, folks. He's very, very good. He needs to be the focal point of this offense. And if he's not, I think this team's going to struggle. So there must be Oh man. Oh God, a little trash talking here. A little trash talking. Denver, I'd rather have Wilson over Goff if that helps. No, that's not very bold, Funk, but we appreciate it. And I say that because older coaches will be retiring through Belichick, Reed. Yeah. People in Kansas City think Andy Reid's going to be here for 10 years. No, I seriously, I would be surprised if Andy Reid lasts more than 3. I think seriously, like every year Andy Reid comes back, it's like one more. But I really think Andy Reid's coming soon. Pete Carroll has a ton of energy, but I think he's 70, 72, and Belichick is 69. Belichick, a lot of people don't know, Belichick takes phenomenal, like he has a workout regimen, like he takes phenomenal shape of phenomenal physical condition, but he's been coaching since the 70s. True story. So you're right though, and when these guys retire, new things will be coming in. Denver Gator, if Drew Lock started over Bridgewater, there's a chance that Denver makes the playoffs and Fangio's still there. And then what I really thought they should have done was get a new offensive coordinator, and Fangio should have stayed. But I will say this, if Fangio stayed and they brought in a new offensive coordinator and Russell Wilson, I'd put Denver in the playoffs. But with Fangio leaving, who I thought was a pretty good, one of the best defensive minds in all of the NFL, a first-time head coach stepping into this division, it's going to be tough. But I have a lot of respect for Broncos organization and the fans, and you have been phenomenal. And for those of you who I'm missing your birthday, it is One Pride and Denver Gator. Happy birthday in advance. All my social media is below. Funk, follow me on Twitter. I will respond to you on social media. Also, my phone, boom. If you send me an email, I get the notification on my phone. Give me 24 hours, even though I am, whoa, what happened there? Wow, I didn't know I could do that. That was pretty cool. I wonder how it looked on, I don't know if that's, I don't know if internally. Anyway, guys, listen, don't forget, give me a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, follow me on social media. It's about 95% football. Anything else I put on there is just goofy. You can ignore it, not ignore it. But I'd love to follow you guys on social media. So that's part of it. So, guys, give me a thumbs up. Follow me on social media. Not next week. 2 weeks, I'll be back. One Pride. Happy birthday early. I hope you have a lot of fun. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.